Oh yeah, that is fun.
It's not, yeah, I still got about like 30 seconds left. This dang thing's precise. Afternoon, evening. Welcome to For Example, sponsored by Hendo Health and Wellness. I am the host, Daryl Yates, better known as Yogi. I am absolutely pleased right now to have these two panelists who's going to share their experiences, their truth, and just tap into everything that's been going on within this 2021 year thus far. We still got a long way to go. We're just a little bit past the first quarter, but there's a lot going on. We're going to try to tap into as much as possible, but at the same time, we want to get a perspective that only they would know. I would also say to please understand that they are speaking for themselves. Do not put them in a category of them speaking for the black race or speaking for the police department or speaking for anything of that nature. They are speaking on what they experience and what their opinions are, as well as myself. So please make sure that you put that in mind whenever you want to make a comment or anything of that nature. They are speaking from themselves, for themselves, and they are talking about their experiences. So with that being said, normally I would introduce, but I want them to introduce themselves. Dr. Pernell Witherspoon, please do start off.
Well, may we let Dana go first?
Let me stand correct. As soon as I said it, let me back up. I will correct myself on that. Please, Dana, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I am Dana Isom, former St. Louis City police officer for 25 years. Worked in several different units, domestic abuse unit. My most time I spent in community outreach and working for the juvenile detention center slash juvenile detective bureau for the St. Louis City Police Department. I am currently a preschool teacher at Maplewood Richmond Heights Early Childhood Center, which is a big switch, but I so enjoy what I do right now.
I know it. Well, I'm Pernell Witherspoon, born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I was a St. Louis Metropolitan Police officer as well, worked in the undercover narcotics unit for a few years, and then moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and was hired right into a narcotic unit there. I was actually trying to quit being a police officer. Got a job at a IHOP or something. They told me when people come in, make sure you yell out, "Welcome to IHOP." You'll do that, So I left there after a couple of hours. I was hired as a narcotics detective in a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. Came back home, and my younger brother was murdered. Moved back to St. Louis, became an officer for the city of Hazelwood, and finished my career there as a sergeant. So total 15 years. I'm currently a professor at Lindenwood University teaching criminology and criminal justice, and I'm thankful that I'm able to tell my story and give my experiences to these students who are interested in getting into the various parts of the criminal justice field. So, and I appreciate you inviting us here, Yogi, to discuss whatever it is that we need to discuss today.
It's going to cover all topics. Again, I appreciate the introduction. And if guys don't mind, I always try to start before we get into the discussion, a quick prayer. And I would just say that real quick. Dear Lord, thank you for what we are ready to discuss. Please give us the blessings and help us understand where we're going in life. And please give us the directions to ensure that we are blessing others throughout our journey. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So before we get into everything that is going on, I always try to do a quick icebreaker. My icebreaker for tonight is, what is your favorite TV character and why?
Ooh.
What is your favorite TV character and why?
Mine
Go ahead,
is
Dana.
between a toss-up between Fred Sanford
Mm,
and George Jefferson.
okay.
Um, Fred Sanford, because he was just down to earth, told it like it was. He was that old school, you know, what everybody gets in trouble for now, just a real person. And George Jefferson, because he tried so hard to be important. And I guess he kind of had the same kind of qualities as Fred Sanford. They were just real, you know. They were able to tell it like it was, and you can't do that these days. But it was just so normal and so funny.
That's amazing. Fred Sanford is actually my favorite. It really is. But he talks like my father. He walks like my father. You know, he's just ignorant. You know, just like a lot of our fathers are. You know,
Yeah.
and today I still look at the same episodes and laugh just as hard as I did when I first saw him.
Yes.
Definitely, definitely old red.
I will, and because he's from St. Louis too, so I want to throw
Yeah.
him in there as well. I would say for me is James Evans on Good Times. For me, even though they were struggling, he was the father. He was a disciplinarian, but not disciplinarian where they feared him. They respected him more than anything, but at the same time, he did whatever was necessary to provide for his family. My father's name was James, so it just reminded me of a lot of the struggle. Not to say I was struggling like the Evans family, but at the same time, just to see the father and the mother together in a household, raising their family and having loving family friends come in and out, and just addressing their daily struggles, everything from gang violence to drugs to pregnancy to a little bit of everything. So for me, Good Times was definitely something that I can still watch, especially when they do those marathons. I can still watch it today as if I was 8, 9, 10 years old watching it for the very first time. So, but Sanford and Son still makes me laugh. George Jefferson with Jefferson still make me laugh. All those great TV shows are still good with me. With that being said, right now we got an ongoing issue that has been going on for years. I am miffed on what is it's going to take to change what's been happening. Right now, we currently have a situation. We got two situations I want to speak on. One is the gentleman, that the Army sergeant, and him being in a car in fatigues, even though it happened in December, but they're just now showing it in the Army fatigues. Please help me. Whoever wants to jump in, please help me. What went wrong, and how could that situation been de-escalated to the point to where this would be a non-factor? Help me out, please.
I actually did not see the entire video. I saw clips of, not clips, I saw still shots. So I'm not really familiar as to what happened per se. I know he was maced, and I heard that he said something about he wanted to know prior to getting out of the car, but I didn't see that one like I saw the one that just happened a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
Why
Um,
was he stopped? Do you know, young?
Well, the thing was, what they initially said was he did not have his license plate on display. Come to find out, he just purchased a car and he had temp tags. And what he told the officer as soon as he pulled him over, from what the videos that I've seen, was that he told the officer, I put on my blinker to let you know that I was going to a lit area because I wanted to be seen in a lit area, so for your safety and for mine, so I would not have any issues. But apparently the arresting officer wasn't liking that, and he tried to pull him out of the car and ended up spraying him with mace.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that people will say is that all you need to do is comply with the police. And we do know that we've seen incidents where people have complied and they were still, you know, maybe mistakenly treated a certain way or intentionally treated a certain way after complying. But no matter what, when you think about the laws, if an officer asks you to do something that's totally legal within that officer's powers to do, it behooves us actually to comply. And I understand people say, you know, drive to a well-lit area or something like that. What some people don't realize is if the officers have their lights on and they're trying to stop you, and you're trying to go to a well-lit area, they don't necessarily know that. And what you're doing is allowing them, their adrenaline, to start pumping a certain way. And maybe some fear kicks in, you know. And I try to put myself in the shoes of the officer and in the shoes of the driver. Part of me say he probably should have complied a little more, you know, and maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. But that's not to excuse the officer's actions either, you know. That the questions I have are, why did the officer want him out of the car? I don't know the answers to that yet. I haven't seen anything yet. Mm-hmm. So for the officer to want him out of the car, of course, now the driver is suspicious about what the officer is attempting to do, because the driver knows that, well, did I do anything illegal? You know, I don't feel that I've done anything illegal, so why am I being asked to get out of the car? So, man, it's a difficult situation because many blacks are afraid of police now, you know, are afraid to get out the car. And man, it's difficult. You say, how can we change this? Man, it's difficult. You know, I know the answers.
And to piggyback on that, what I'm not understanding is, if we're going to a well-lit area, if my hands, again, his hands was outside, according to the video, outside the window, he's asking what's going on. Are we supposed to ask those questions? Shouldn't we ask? Don't we have a right to ask those type of questions, like, why am I being pulled over? And if you're not getting any answer, what are we supposed to do at that particular time? And I know I've been pulled over numerous times, especially when I first came to St. Louis and I had my 78 Impala, which I still do have in my garage. When I would get pulled over all the time, and it's like, okay, my hand's on the steering wheel, I never get a ticket, I comply, but I'm still nervous. So what am I supposed to do in those situations?
Here's my take on what happened. So there are three things that I think play a factor in this. Number one is, as Black police officers, I believe we are able to separate ourselves from the job. So I don't identify as a police officer. I identify as Dana. Police officer is my job. So I don't carry that with me in my heart like a badge of honor. Like, when you attack the police, I don't feel like you're attacking me. I feel like you're attacking the institution. And I just happen to be a member of the institution. Well, some people, and I'm not going to say just white people, because there are other people, other races as well, but some people identify, that is who they are, that is all that they've ever wanted to be, and their whole life's purpose is that job as police officer, and it gives them more power than they've ever had. So when you question my authority that I've never had or that I'm so proud of, you're not questioning me as a police officer. I feel like they feel like they're being questioned as a person. If they take it personal, this is, how dare you talk to me like that? How dare you question my authority. That's number one. They cannot separate the job from who they are. Number two, we have these silly little laws on the books. And they're not silly, they serve a purpose. But there are laws on the books, one in particular that Witherspoon was talking about, that says you can be charged with failure to comply with the reasonable directions of a police officer. So that just kind of encompasses everything. The reasonable directions. But what's reasonable for you might not be reasonable for me. So it just kind of leaves that whole window open for interpretation. So it's reasonable for you as an officer to ask me to get out of the car. But for me as a Black man, that's scary and life-threatening and unreasonable. So now we're at a cultural or a standpoint in our lives where for you, it seems reasonable. What's wrong with me asking you to get out of the car? For him, it's like, like you said, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm afraid because every person that gets out the car ends up dead or even in the car. So there's a disconnect. There's that cultural difference, those little bitty laws that we can use to manipulate the system, manipulate the situation. And then there's that prideful and I have heard people say it, I'm the police. And I would think to myself as a police officer, well, we're all police, but you're saying it like that is actually your identity. That is who you are. Mm-hmm. So that's what I feel is going on now in this whole police versus United States, I should say, world we have going on right now.
And one thing, one of the solutions that I have talked about before is, people, and I'm speaking for the Black community, because those, that's where the issues are. I think the Black community should be taught police protocol. A lot of times we don't know what the police are actually allowed to do. You'll see a lot of these videos where people are saying, like Eric Garner in New York, many people were saying, he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. Well, he did resist. It was very passive, but he wasn't following. If he was under a lawful arrest, even if it was for cigarettes, they placed him under arrest. Again, I'm not justifying that officer's actions at all, but the law says that once you've been placed under a lawful arrest, if you decide that you don't want to go, then you're resisting, as passive as it may be.
But when does that become excessive? Even with the example you just used with Eric Gardner, his hands are up. If he's selling loosies, whatever the allegation is, you got 6, 7, 8, 9 officers surrounding him. He's on the ground. When is enough enough? That's where I have the issue with a lot of the videos that are being shown. Now, again, one of the first things people will say, oh, well, you didn't see what happened in the beginning, what happened. But what we did see, it just seems like when is enough, especially when, example, you have Dylan, whatever his last name was, go into a church, shoot 9 people. He come out, end up going to Burger King as he was going to the precinct. Mm-hmm. He shot 9 people, cold blood, 9 people, after they prayed for him. Mm-hmm. But then the police officer showed complete compassion for him, get him in the car, not even a scratch. His hair was even out of place. Get him something to eat, then take him to the precinct. But then you have another gentleman where the cop pulls up to the side of the car with the girlfriend was in there, and please excuse me because I can't think of his name because I got so many things going through my head. The cop, the young man told him, I have my CCW. The cop said, get your license. As soon as he reached to get his license, the cop panicked. He ended up shooting him in front of the girlfriend, in front of the girlfriend's child in the back seat. It's like, I'm not understanding how on one end you can have compassion for one, but then on the other, well, I do understand, but I'm gonna lead into that a little bit later on. Help me out.
Here's what I say, going back to the whole prideful thing. Even with the Eric Gardner, when I watched, I did see that. you have 5 police officers surrounding you. Is that not threatening? I would feel threatened. I don't care how big I am. But what happens is we do, and Witherspoon knows this, we do all this cultural diversity training and verbal judo training and all these things where we learn how to talk to people, but we learn in the classroom. But when we leave, I'm still on that power trip. And you're going to do what I tell you to do by any means necessary. And that's the way, that's the mentality of some police officers. The badge is my ticket, and you see that, and you see my uniform, and it says compliance to you. Now, the difference for me, and I have had the fortunate and unfortunate incidents is to work with both sides. Guys in the academy, I would hear say, I can't wait to get out here and bust some heads. Go up north and bust some heads. And I'd be thinking, why you gotta go up north to bust heads? Why can't you go, at the time in 87, it was predominantly black up north and white in the south. So I would say, why don't you go to your people and bust heads? Why you gotta go up to north? I live up north. You gonna go up there and bust it? But I don't mean it like that. That's where the action is. No, that's exactly what you meant.
Exactly.
Don't go up north to bust heads. Go south to bust heads. So that is their, I watched this on TV, and this is, I need some action. And part of the action is, you know, cowboys and Indians, guns, cowboys and robbers. So that's that mentality. They don't come, most of the people don't come with the spirit of protect and serve. Let's just be honest. I came naive at 21. I can't wait to get out there and protect and serve and you know, do work in the community and meet people and officer friendly and all those things that I grew up with. And when I got there, that was treated with, what? You don't have 12 tickets? You didn't lock anybody up for drugs? And I was like, well, I didn't see any. I mean, I'm rolling around waving at the people and answering calls, but no, the drugs didn't present themselves to me. So I'm not looking for it like that, but that is their focus. I want you to get out here and I want you to bust some heads and I want you to roll on the ground. And if I can get a shootout or 2 in, man, what a good day. So, I mean, it's just that whole culture, the mentality of, they've tried to change it with community outreach, community policing, but you got to change it with the people that you hire. You got to hire people with the spirit of community minded. I'm here because I do want to change community and all people matter. So that's just my take on it.
Spoon, Dr. Spoon?
I agree. I mean, you're talking about personnel issues. And now, one of the things that's problematic is the pay. You know, the quality pay is going to bring that type of person to these types of occupations. And you're getting a lot of people who could care less about the sanctity of a city. And if the culture, in the culture that exists, and Dana said, I mean, we be in roll call, and a sergeant will say, let's go out there and violate some rights, you know? And to say that in roll call to you know, you're influencing some of those officers. Mm-hmm. You know, thank goodness there were few, and I think there were just few, that were sane enough to not adhere to that command that was given at roll call. And a lot of times, and a lot of research will back this up, you'll find that it's the Black officers who resist those types of things that sergeants will say. Some of them participate, but in my experience, and the research backs it up, Black officers simply treat people somewhat differently than white officers. And so we have to get at the root of that. Is it racism? You know, I think a lot of it is racism. You know, how can we prove racism? You know, people aren't walking around saying that they're racist anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
That's non-existent. And
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I spoke with folks and I had to correct somebody is like people are not wearing hoods and saying the N-word. That does not totally qualify you as being a racist. There are so many other facets to that. With that being said, do you think that it would help if police officers lived in that community that they are patrolling?
I don't. I really don't. I think that the focus needs to be on, and I worked in human resources as a police officer, and they were looking for a particular type of individual. Um, the people that I felt would make great police officers were the people that were compassionate, that came from a service type background. So if you were social worker type and you got some kind of degree in that field, I felt would be made good police officers, because people that gravitate to those kind of fields are people that are a service individual kind of people. But they were looking for paramilitary, former military. We would go and recruit on the military bases. We would go all across the country, all across the United States, to military bases, recruiting people from the base, which I don't feel like is necessarily our best candidates, because they're already coming from a fight type background, that are looking to continue that job quality of, I got my AK-47, I got my, so I don't feel like that would be our best. I feel like human resources is where we can best change the culture of the police department, and recruiting people from different job categories. Like, you don't necessarily have to have had military experience. Or I tell people all the time when I meet them, when I was going to Judge Edwards School, and the kids like, I want to be a police officer, I'm gonna get my degree in criminology. And I would absolutely say, well, that's nice, but they'll teach you the laws you need to know when you get into police academy. You could also go into nursing, you could go into psychology, you could go into social work. Any of those fields make great police officers. So don't just think because you get a criminology degree that you make a good police officer. So I was trying to encourage them that there are so many other fields that will give you the knowledge that you need to be a police officer, because the laws, they'll teach you what laws you need to know, but you need to know how to have the spirit of compassion and understanding and empathy. Those are the kind of things that you need to be a police officer.
Dr. Spoon?
I actually think some people do need to live in the community. And I have to say that I think it's a racial issue. You have a white guy that comes from a rural area working in St. Louis City. All he's known most of his life is that, St. Louis City is this bad, crime-ridden place. And now he's working in that crime-ridden place. And those are the people that he's probably mostly going to come in contact with as a police officer. Well, on days when he's off duty, he could be in his neighborhood getting to know some of the individuals who aren't the criminals that he sees day to day as a police officer. And if he's more exposed to the more positive blacks, then he would have more compassion when he meets various types of people who aren't like him the way he grew up. And but of course, we can't just have some people live in a community and not allow and others live elsewhere. If we're talking about seriously taking care of a problem, it's not going to be a fair solution. It just won't. But you can't take anyone out of the and people resist hearing that, not all people from rural areas are racist. No, but I would say most of them probably are. I'm confident in saying that.
Well, you know what?
Go ahead.
Even if it's not racist, Witherspoon, they might be racially biased, which covers a whole lot more than racist. The
I
racist
agree.
person, you would know. The racially biased person believes themselves to not be racist at all, and they absolutely are.
And those are the most scariest people to deal with because they will be so compassionate in front of you, but then they will say things when they are not totally protective of their words. They will say something to make you go, wait a minute, hold on. Did I just hear what I just heard? Did she just act the way she just acted? So I agree that, to me, in order for you to be effective in anything that you do, you have to build a rapport. If you do not build a rapport with the people you are patrolling or interacting with, it's not going to work because you already going to come somewhat in a confrontational way when you're dealing with people, especially when the intensity is high. Because now you feel as if, well, you're going to listen to me because of my label or because of what I do for a living, when people are just like, no, I just need for you to just pay attention to what's being said and we'll go from there. I apologize, my
What's
daughter.
that? That's that Emo's Pizza.
Hey, that's the joy going live. So
I can't say this though. One of the best jobs that I had as a police officer was Witherspoon. I thought that you had done this as well. Maybe not. Was I walked the beat. I walked the beat from. I walked the 9th district from. I would walk from Cass and Tucker. No, not Tucker. What's that street that the police station is on now? 9th district.
In the 9th district.
What's the big street that it's on? What's the area 2 police station? What street is that?
It's Parnell. Parnell turns into starts out at 10th Street, turns into Parnell, and then turns into I forgot.
Yeah. Well, I walked that whole hole. They called it the hole at the time, which was also they called it Central West End. Then it was the hole, like the dark hole, because that's where the black people live. I walked that district and I went to the, there was a little bar on Cass and Jefferson, right across from the fire department now. And I would walk from there all,
Jesse's,
all the way down to the Central West End. And I mean, when I tell you those people were so glad to see me walking, it was 3 of us. We walked. That's all we did all day long. Walked and walked and walked and talked to people, enjoyed people's company. They're glad to see us coming. They would tell us little stuff. Hey, officer, they doing such and such over there. But they were happy to see us in their community. I get it now. It might be a little scary walking in these neighborhoods, but we shouldn't have gotten away from programs like that. We shouldn't have gotten away from the district stations. We went from, and I knew it was a bad idea when they did it. We went from 9 districts to 3. Well, you just took the police out of the community, but said now you want them back in the community. But you took their home base inside their community and put them a long way from a lot of people. And I don't understand I knew the logic at the time and it didn't make any sense to me. But when are we going to go back to putting those little buildings that were home to so many little programs back in the communities? I think we should go from now 9, we need to go up to about 15.
Right.
I agree. So the thing is like I was alluding to earlier, we must get back to the point of where little Johnny, little Tyrone, these kids in the community because they know you. They will run to you and inform you like you just stated, and they will tell you things to help their community out because not everybody in North City is a criminal, even though news media will portray that image. And to me, that is totally, totally unfair. And I think a lot of situations were escalated due to a lot of folks not knowing who they were dealing with. A question that was a poll that's been coming out with discussions that I've been having over these last couple of weeks. What do you think about qualified immunity? And should that be something that should be terminated with police officers?
I'm gonna let you go first on that one.
What's qualified immunity?
Qualified immunity.
Able to get away with doing various things?
Because you're a police officer?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Well, you're not going to get charged because, again, I'm not my thing is, we're watching things on videotape and folks are still getting away with it. So help me understand. Should that be something that they need to terminate?
Our laws are problematic. You see a lot of shootings that occur, and a lot of these shootings are actually justified by law. And I say that because if an officer says that he or she was in fear for their lives, then they're justified to use lethal force. And that's what the law says. At the surface of that law is fine if we didn't have these issues that we have here in the United States. You'll find in many police reports that there is a statement where a shooting was involved, that someone was in fear for their lives.
Stop resisting. That's one to go to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so, this qualified immunity, the intent of it, I don't have a problem with the intent of the law. But the way our society works, it's just not working out, because we have too much bias in our departments. The police culture is too warrior-like. Most officers actually feel like they're out there to be a warrior rather than to go out and protect the community.
I like that term. They do.
Yeah.
Warrior is a good term. They act like warriors, like they're going to war. That's
Yes.
a great.
And when you have that mentality, those laws protect those officers from various things. And that's why I say sometimes we have to be smarter as Black people. We can allow a racist officer to get away with a justified shooting just by not complying. Because if he says, or she says that they were in fear for their life because I resisted, the law protects them in many ways.
Here's the problem I have. A lot of times, and you've been there, a lot of times you see, and Yates, you know how I operate.
Yeah, almost definitely. Yes.
Talker. I can talk you down. So I feel like a lot of times the escalation starts with the conversation. A lot of officers don't know how to talk to people. So they create a situation where they put themselves not really in harm's way, but they put themselves in a situation where now I gotta fight, because I leave myself no room to back down. I leave myself no room to say I was wrong. I'm putting myself in a situation where it's my way or the highway. They believe that there is no compromise. And there are some situations where there is no compromise, but it doesn't always start out like that. So for instance, I get a call to somebody's house and the man says, it's a domestic incident. And the man says, you ain't listening to me. You here for her. Now I could go with that. Or I could say, you know what, sir? I'm going to listen to you first. Your information is just as valuable as hers. I value what you have to say. I'm going to start out. Now I just diffused the whole situation.
Right.
Made it about him. And now he don't know what to do. Like, oh, okay. That's never happened before. But some men that I've gone on a call with that's an attack for them. You just attacked me, and now I'm going to attack you back. Who the hell you think you talk? That whole, and right there, you already going downhill. But now it's like, now that man feels like, now you attacking me.
So with that being said, Isom, can I just, if you pull me over and you are asked, can I just tell you I'm not answering any more questions? What's going to happen from that point on? Are you going to start becoming more aggressive because I say, well, I refuse to answer any more questions? What am I supposed to do? Can I do that?
Depending on what your questions I'm asking. Now, what if I say, I need to see your license, and you say no? No, you can't refuse to show me your license. If I ask you to get out the car, you can ask me why, And honestly, we're supposed to answer questions. If a citizen asks us a question and it's a reasonable question, we should ask. Like, so let's say you ask me what my name is. Officer, I need to know your name. And I cover my badge up. Well, we're not allowed to do that. We have to give our name. We have to identify ourselves. So there's certain things that we have to do as well. But no, you can't refuse to get out your car. You can't refuse to give me your license if I stopped you for something. There's certain things you just can't refuse to do. And back to what Witherspoon said, what I tell my children and my friends, honest to God, if it's night and you're somewhere and you're not comfortable and the police officer tries to pull you over, pick up the phone, dial 911. Dispatcher, I'm being followed by a police officer. Can you please tell that police officer that I am going to move over to a gas station, or I'm going to pull over, whatever, so they know that I am not running, that I recognize that they're pulling me over. I tell everybody that. I recognize I'm being pulled over, but I don't feel safe, so I'm going to drive to the nearest gas station or whatever. So that's what I tell people. But no, you cannot refuse you can't refuse to put your hands behind your back. You can't refuse to give me your license. You can't refuse to get out of the car. Sounds good, but you can't.
Wow. That's I mean, because you always have these folks come on TV and say, this is exactly what you need to do. You need to have this taped on your window, have a plastic laminated of your license and all this other. But it's like, even if you do that, things can escalate quick just by saying no or asking those questions, which makes me absolutely nervous to the point of high anxiety. And it's scary, especially during these times.
Because you get out of that car. You can say no, but in all honesty, you are going to get out of that car one way or the other.
And you know, there's sometimes it depends on the state also. The state laws kind of dictate some of these things. If you haven't committed a crime and the officer is not asking you questions based on a crime, you can't say that you're not answering those questions. You know, now if we're talking about something criminal, then you still don't have to answer those particular questions, but that officer is allowed, if she or he chooses, to take you into custody for whatever it is that they're investigating. If there's no crime, some states do say that you don't have to answer questions.
Okay.
But, you know, I don't know how do you win in that particular situation.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I know the times that I've been pulled over, especially at night, I let down all my windows, cut off the car, hands on steering wheel, cut on the interior light. And when they pull up to the car or they walk up to the car, I say, officer, I am not moving until you give me a directive. Now, that has gotten me by thus far, but at the same time, you just don't know. And the thing is, I don't want to not comply, but what does that mean? That's subjective, depending on who's pulling you over. With that being said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wonder, what's the purpose of saying I'm not answering any questions?
Because you don't want to incriminate yourself with whatever is being asked of you. I mean, you can say, are you high or have you been drinking? I'm like, I'm not going to answer that question.
No,
Then,
I mean, yeah, you don't have to answer that. You don't. You know, and they can
you
even.
have drugs in the car, I'm not answering anything. You know.
Okay.
Oh, I don't want to put myself in a situation to where.
Let me tell you this. Did you know that if you were stopped for a minor traffic violation, that a police officer can arrest you for that minor traffic violation?
Yes, I'm aware of that. But here's the thing: I don't want to die in the midst of a minor transgression, meaning a license. Like I got pulled over in my Impala again when I first came to St. Louis. They said, "Well, sir, you didn't have a light on your license plate." I'm like, it's a '78 Impala. They didn't have lights on a license plate. I got pulled over at least 6 or 7 times for that very thing. And it's like, okay, are you just trying to find a reason to pull me over? Never got a ticket, but just going through that whole process. And it's like, okay, you guys just looking for something, thinking, profiling me, thinking I'm somebody that I'm not.
Absolutely.
So, well, and that's the case, and I get that, but at the same time, it's frustrating as hell to keep on being profiled when it's not the another example. I was going to Webster Groves, Gary go to school. The guy said from a dead stop in my 78 Impala, I went from that to 40 miles an hour in less than 100 yards. I'm like, sir, my car's not going to do that. Not right. He said, well, let me see your license. And so again, I complied. I didn't get arrested or anything of that nature, but it's scary. So with that being said, the latest incident, which just happened, I say within the last 48 hours, the gentleman's name is Dante Wright, 20-year-old. It happened, basically the lady, I believe her name is Kim Patty or Patter,
Yeah.
Potter.
That I did see.
So just to get to the nutshell of it, she yelled taser, taser, taser while having her official revolver in her hand, and she shot him. What went wrong? What's going on with that? How can that been handled a lot better?
Let me tell you, I've already analyzed that one a lot.
Okay.
Number one, she was training somebody. I don't know which one of them she was training because it was two officers at the car and she was coming up from the back. She just pulled up, to show the other guy in the car with her, hey, this is how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a problem with that, first of all. Do your own stop. Don't pull up on somebody else's stop.
Yes.
Number two, when he got him out the car, he's already in the traffic lane. Why don't you take him to the back of the car for your safety and for his safety? Move him from the door, which is open, and back around to a safer spot for you, a safer spot for him, and a more controlled area where you can handcuff him. Then it's 3, maybe 4 of you guys. Did he maybe feel threatened? I don't know. But I noticed that he didn't jerk away until she walked up. Until she walked up and put her arm around him. But he's right there at the door with the ability to get in. It wasn't really her call. She was just helping out, I'm guessing. Had they moved him to the back of their car, he would have never been able to try and jump in that car because he would have been at the trunk. I would have never tried to lock somebody up with their door open right next to their door. What if he had a gun in the car? What if he had anything? So that was the first mistake I saw. Second mistake is he's jumping in the car. It's a police officer, her, another police officer, and a police officer over there, and she can tase the guy in the car or anybody at that point because she's yelling taser, taser, taser because you're supposed to. If you can tase somebody, she's not yelling it for the guy. She's yelling it to her officer friends to get out the way and get ready to tase somebody. But they never really moved, so she potentially could have tased them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt like the whole situation was under control, and she showed up. However, I thought the first mistake they made was trying to handcuff him in an open door next to his car. I don't know if the car was running or not, but it seemed like it was because he jumped in and took off right away after they shot him.
Yeah.
So that's, I think it could be avoided. Number one, that he shouldn't have been arrested in the street, basically. He should have been moved back to a safer position on the other side of the car.
How could it have been avoided is the question?
Yes.
Had she pulled out the taser instead of the gun?
I knew you was going to get that answer.
We didn't have to have this conversation.
That's true.
It's hard. You really don't want to. What I've thought about is she, because I've seen some people saying she knew what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, what does she get out of doing that? She's not employed anymore. She resigned and all that. It may have been a mistake. It's a costly mistake, horrible mistake. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm reluctant to say this woman intentionally did it. What do you think? You think she intentionally did it?
The way I look at it is there a vast difference between the taser and because I know the mayor, not the mayor, but the chief of police that's a whole nother issue. He emphatically said it was a accident, which for me, you a little bit early on that because you haven't did all the full investigation, even though he said he did, but that's just my personal opinion. My thing is that if you've been on the force for 26 plus years,
Yeah.
you would know the difference between your left and your right and what you are grabbing. Because if you are a left-hander, which I am a left-hander, I know what I'm grabbing on my left side because it's been there forever.
But
Now,
26 years. Been
for
there for
26 years.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is that it's bulkier, the taser is a little bit more heavier. So
The taser is lighter, actually, and
Yeah.
it's
And it's
yellow.
not as bulky.
And
no,
it's-
I'm saying the gun is
Oh,
heavier than the
absolutely.
taser. But my thing is that it's almost like those that stop resisting while you pulling somebody. So you yelling taser, taser, taser when you
Yeah.
know well you don't have a taser in your damn hand.
Yeah.
It doesn't jive with me. Something just is rotten.
You know what I say? Here's what I say. Now, if she's right-handed, her taser is on the left. You got to reach over here to get it. But
Yes.
what I say, she had her hand on her gun the whole time, and so in a panic situation, she just pulls it out,
Yes.
not thinking. So that's what I think happened. I
Good
don't think
point.
she intentionally did it, but I think she had her hand on her gun the entire time, walking up there just in case.
Already unbuckled.
Already unbuckled, already ready to pull out. So instead of thinking, "Oh, let me get my taser out," she already had her hand on her gun and just pulled it out.
Yes.
And the underlying issue there, race.
Yeah.
Because some will say, and might be true, that had he been white, she may not have been as alarmed.
Yep. She wouldn't have had her hand on her gun at all. She'd have been
At
standing there.
all.
She wouldn't even pull it up.
No. And that's what irritates me to the core. And I don't know why I subject myself to a lot of the commentary. When you read it, it's like, oh, he was a felon and everything. I said, so what you're telling me is that police officer was the judge, jury, and executioner. He's supposed to die over I'm hearing a misdemeanor warrant. Then I heard there was a messed up warrant that was filed incorrectly. Whatever the case may be, that's up for the courts to decide what his fate is, not for him to die right then and there. And it's happening entirely too many times. And enough is enough with these type of incidents where we are coming back and second guessing. Even right now with the Chauvin trial, which was pretty much a little over 10 miles away from the actual incident with the Daunte Wright, we watched a gentleman die. My whole thing is, let me put my knee on your neck for 9.5 minutes and see how long you're going to be able to breathe. I've heard people say, well, he was a druggie. He had fentanyl in the system, which all that's proven to be not a determining factor on the reason why he died from asphyxiation. He died because he could not breathe. They showed in the video where he pretty much was alive 1 second and was dead 1 second later. How many more times do we watch these different things and people run out and justify, well, Breonna Taylor should have been dating a drug guy, which was all a lie. The police officer who shot in the apartment got in trouble for shooting a wall rather than being charged for Breonna's shooting. All these different things manifest, and it's almost like a rush to justification for, like I saw a video today to where with Daunte Wright, he was showing that he had a gun. He had a 9mm, whatever type of gun. And I'm like, okay, so if he shows that he has a gun, he's an instant labeled as a thug or a criminal. But what about the folks who go out and buy these ARs, who go out and buy these 12 gauge shotguns? Are they just considered patriots who has all this plethora of guns and they hunters? So why is it that if I have a bunch of guns, I'm a thug that you need to fear, but if somebody else has them, oh, he's a patriot?
I'm gonna give you a an analogy that is gonna fit right in line with this. Let's take them storming the Capitol. They were up in arms about that white lady being shot. They were up in arms. The police officer pulled his gun, announced that she should not come through that door.
Multiple times.
It's literally protecting lives.
Yes.
You were an immediate threat. And if you come through here, you already have designs on hurting and killing somebody because that's what you've been shouting outside.
Yes.
And so you get shot, and they were up in arms about this lady. How dare, she was a mother. She was a good person. No, she wasn't. She absolutely was not, because she was storming the Capitol looking to kill some senators and representatives and whoever else was in there. And Capitol Police has every right in that instance to defend the Capitol. But they were incensed with the fact that she was killed.
Yes.
I think that she deserved that. That means it was announced, you saw the gun. Somebody said, there's a gun, and she didn't care. She said, I don't care.
Yeah. But I would also think too, first of all, we wouldn't have made it past the gates if it was black and brown folks. Those are one of the things that also disturbs me, that you actually have congressmen and senators actually going around saying we should investigate this. I'm like, no, it should be investigated, because a lot of you folks were involved by providing tours prior to the 6th, and you had somebody who had all the power in the world promoting this. Now, again, people who are listening, you can take it for whatever it's worth, but we are looking at the same videos. We heard the same speeches. We saw the same folks. You know, if there was black and brown folk coming by the thousands to storm Capitol, you already know it was. And let me also add too, I was down in Ferguson when they had those tanks. I left right before they started administering tear gas. That was not a fun. The atmosphere was not as bad as the news portrayed it, but you had a lot of folks coming in from out of town, starting ish. That's well documented, but it's not being talked about all the time. I just look at all of this as, you can't on one hand call people patriots and then call other people who are protesting thugs and criminals and everything else, because I always ask folks, what is the reasoning for the protest regarding George Floyd? And what is the reasoning for people to storm the Capitol? That's, if you can give me the answer to that, then you have the happenings of folks and what they are doing. One of my last questions, and then we're going to start going into the closing aspect of it. I know over the times, I always hear people talk about in the neighborhoods, people have a code in the neighborhood. Don't speak, don't talk to the cops, don't do anything. And I hear people complain and TV shows talking about, well, hell, how can we investigate the crimes if nobody's talking? Don't that same rule apply to police officers on the blue wall of silence? And if we are talking about police officers who are racist, which I think a lot of them are, not all of them, but a lot of them are, because you need to do the investigations on what they involved with as far as social media. Wouldn't that, if you were asking the communities to open up and answer to the police, shouldn't the police department do the same damn thing and open up and get those racists up out of there, get the folks who are having all the, like Chauvin had 19 incidents of abuse prior to this incident? Shouldn't that apply within the police department as well?
Who's going to get them out of there? What if the head honcho is racist?
Damn.
Let me say this. I have in my 25 career told on a lot of people. And that got me in a lot of trouble. It got me labeled. It got me blackballed. It got me set out to the point where the people that worked on my shift wouldn't come on my calls. Like literally would leave me out there by myself. What needs to happen is the culture of silence at all costs has to change. But the people in power need to make it understood that you will be protected career-wise, and you won't be ostracized or penalized if you speak up about what's happening. And until that happens, I mean, for the most part, people that are doing wrong do in circles of other people that are going to do wrong as well. And they know they're comfortable in that setting because they know that it won't, that people won't tell on them. But I had the unfortunate opportunity of working with a bunch of men that didn't really care. They didn't feel like my information that I would share with people would be valued, or they would take it as with a grain of salt. And they were right. And I can absolutely tell you the number of times that I told about things that were happening in my district, whichever district I was in at the time, when I would go to a commander or to a sergeant and say, hey, you know, they were doing some shady stuff. This person didn't deserve to be arrested. I think they put drugs on that guy. Some of the comments that I got were, they made a felony arrest. Yeah, but it was not legal. Yeah, I don't care how they get the arrest. Or he probably was a shithead anyway. Or maybe he didn't have drugs this time, but he had them before. I mean, they don't have a culture where you feel comfortable telling, because they want arrest at all costs. And there's still that mentality of, we want to bust some heads. We are warriors. It's the wild, wild west. We here to do a job. You know, it's not the spirit of community service. I want to help people. I want to protect people. I want to get the criminals at all costs, whatever it takes.
I will say my observation is that I'm seeing officers being held accountable more today than I've ever seen.
That is true.
There are some changes, and this is what's important. We're going to have to accept white people as allies, because what happened with George Floyd just blew up the United States, just like it was something totally new. Floyd has been going on since the beginning of time.
Eric Garner was just 6 years earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
What happened is you have more whites, who are the majority in the United States. You have more whites now, you know, coming to the conclusion that we have a problem in the United States, where blacks knew we had a problem a long time ago. So now you're seeing, you know, the NFL, you know, Kaepernick kneeling, you know, they were against that. But now it's okay to support Black Lives Matter, because this is the trend that's happening today. We have to accept it. At the same time, I criticize it. To me, I feel like, you know, are you really sincere? It's just, right now, it's okay for you to accept Black Lives Matter. But 2 or 3 years ago, you didn't accept it.
Or 2 or 3 months later, you right back to the same, because it looked good when you saw all these cops and senators and congressmen and women kneeling and everything. But what does that really mean when in your heart you really are nervous and you don't really support what we have to say? That's what scares me more than anything. Go ahead.
So now with that happening, with us having more whites as allies, we can at some point start addressing some of the laws that allow police to get away with various things that they get away with. At the same time, we have to do a juggling act. You know, as a police officer, I've been involved in shootouts. You know, you can't handcuff the police, you know, because there is a job that's got to be done. We got some badass people out there. But some laws have to be changed. And we have to accept those white allies because they have the power still. You know, sometimes we think we have the power, but we only make up 15% of the U.S. population. We don't have the power. Now, if we can get together in more numbers and those trends change, and we accept some of those white allies who have power as well, we will see some changes. That's why they're talking about this cancel culture thing. They can talk about it till they're red in the face or blue
That's
in the
not,
face, whatever you want to
yeah,
call it. You know, things are changing. You know, we're getting rid of these Confederate statutes and things like that. Go
yeah,
in your house or something like that. I don't want to see it. You know, so
It's got to be a way to. I think it starts with number one, getting the bad seeds out. And I agree. I mean, I have a lot of white officers that cared a lot about the community and the people in it, all sides of the community.
yeah.
But we got somehow, as we get the bad ones out, we got to do a major overhaul in our recruiting process of who we get in. And I think they let the internal affairs, I think now does the background check. I think that you need to maybe, you can use retired officers, you can use an independent agency. Somehow we have to change the culture of the people coming into the police department and change the mentality of the people at the top, where
Yes.
we got some of them good old boys still in there
Yes.
that are running the department, that are resistant to change and resistant to a new way of life, a new way of policing. And we can't, I heard somebody say, and I wholeheartedly agree with this, we can't lock our way up out of this. We just can't lock up people to get out of this. We have to change the way we police and change the way we view our communities and to change the way we work with our communities if we want to get out of this current climate that we're in.
Yes. Again, I could probably go on another 20 or 30 minutes, if not longer, because the information you guys are providing is something invaluable in so many ways, because you are letting us know, you're giving us advice, you are actually addressing issues that oftentimes people don't want to speak about. So I greatly appreciate the candidness and the forthright you guys have with just discussing these, especially with everything you have dealt with. One last question I got to ask this, Isom. How was it? I know you alluded to it earlier about 5-6 minutes ago. How was it being a Black female officer coming in?
In 1987, when I started the police department, it was miserable. It was awful. I worked in a district that was predominantly white, predominantly male. My coworkers, the guys that I worked with, actually were great. It was the command staff that were just them good old boys from back in the day, had a way of doing things, way of running things. I wasn't a part of the agenda. Women really weren't a part of the agenda. And Black females definitely weren't a part of the agenda. And I can say the person that saved me was Sergeant Kelly. Sergeant Kelly saved me. He took me onto his platoon, and otherwise I wouldn't have been there the 25 years. It was like, I was gonna say it's like being in Mayberry, but Mayberry was a happy, great, lovely place to live. So it was not like being in Mayberry. It was unbelievable. It really was. Some of the things that happened and some of the things that was said to me. I mean, I had a sergeant. My daughter, I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm on this police department. I'm just gonna tell my sergeant, because he'll tell me what to do. He'll tell me where to go and how to handle this. And I said, "Hey, Sarge, I just wanted to let you know I found out that I was pregnant." And he said, "Well, that ain't my problem." I said, I understand that, but I was just wondering what I know I can't stay on the street. He said, "Well, pregnancy, you got some sick days?" I said, "I do." He said, "Well, take your sick days." I said, "But I'm not sick." He said, because at the time we didn't have a maternity leave, we didn't have any of that. He said, "Well, you either get your ass back out there on the street or take your ass home." That's their two options. Take your ass home or get your ass on the street. And I was
Wow.
like, wow. Okay. For now, I'm gonna go on the street because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
You know. But informing him that what I learned later, that informing him that I was pregnant and something that happened to me on the street, he could have been liable for that. But he didn't care.
Yeah.
But he didn't care. That wasn't his problem. He said, that's not my problem. I had a sergeant tell me that I didn't belong in the police department. I belong barefoot, pregnant, at home, screwing my man. That's what he told me.
Wow.
That's what I said. Wow.
Dr. Spoon.
That's how I was in 87.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm glad some changes has been made. At least I hope they have. Dr. Spoon, and before you even answer, I just wanted to thank you. I know it's like a few years back, but I remember you took care of Anthony Carter and myself when we came to visit Atlanta way back when. I always want to tell you that personally, but I don't even know I don't know if I still owe you for a hotel room that we purchased. I can't remember if it is, the check is in the mail, but it said that was in 91, 92. We went down to Atlanta. Yeah, so again, I always want to tell you thank you for that. So with that being said, how was it for you when you first got in?
When I first got in, it was interesting. You know, in the academy they taught us we're all blue, blah 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 blah. And I was excited, you know, we're all blue. And I got out there, and it was funny. I got to where, you know, luckily for me, you know, I was able to resist the subculture. I know most officers are gonna say, yeah, I resisted the subculture, and you know, a lot of them are lying. But luckily for me, you know, I was able to resist it. I saw things, I'm like, you know, now I will say I'm guilty of not snitching, you know. But I didn't have a problem with approaching people and say, man, that's messed up. You do that shit again, I'm snitching, you know. But I didn't snitch, and I'm guilty of that, no doubt about it. But I do feel proud that I wasn't afraid to approach officers and say, man, that's kind of effed up what you did or something like that. But I got to where I'm actually observing if I hear a call come out, it's an officer in need of aid. I used to say, I bet you I see a black man come out with blood gushing out his head.
With getting a turban.
Yes.
Getting a turban.
And it's like, it seems like every time that's what I saw. And it was almost always a white officer who did it. Yeah. Or white officers. You know, so that did cause me to look back and see what's actually going on. Working in the 8th District, you know, it was a dangerous area. You know, I've been involved in shootouts and everything. I had my skull cracked working undercover. So I know some of our people will get us, you know, I know this. But at the same time, you know, I'm having to be a liaison between the black community and some of these white officers whom I thought were racist, you know. And so that was a difficult balance at times, man. And you know, sort of depressing, to be honest with you.
Very depressing.
Yeah.
Disheartening. You know, you come in, like you say, in the academy, you got these delusions of grandeur. I'm going to help people. I'm going to be a good officer. And that's not what they're looking for. And you get out there, it is. It's a culture shock. It's depressing.
Yeah.
I you know, again, I'm trying to figure a way of just saying, hey, let's end this, but it's just the receptiveness of you guys. It's like I want to just keep going, but I know I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but it's just the plethora of information that you guys have. You guys have to come. I'm not even going to ask. I'm telling you guys are coming back. Out of the love I have for both of you, you guys are coming back. I cannot, because it's other questions I want to ask, but again, we've pretty much gone a little bit over the time. But again, this information is invaluable. You cannot shortchange what you guys have talked about. And there's so much more I want to get into. I would just say this again. I asked you two on for a reason. I already knew your character. Well, Dr. Wisp, well, I thought I just play it. But again, I know you got Isom. I know you from work. I mean, the stuff we have done doesn't matter what was going on. I would give you a call. You would be there. You would help me out all the time. Spoon, not only at SEMO, I remember a whole bunch of you. You was one of the few people to introduce me to the whole fraternity, and just you taking me under your wing, especially your brother. Rest in peace. And you know, he and I sat down and had numerous conversations, and just going, especially when I'm in my early 20s, trying to understand how to be a young man and have you step in. I mean, it's just, I can just go on and on and on. With that being said, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out and hanging out with good old Yogi. And
let's keep doing it. Let's stay on point with solutions. Let's
yeah,
try to keep throwing out some solutions, man. Because this is nuts. This
yes.
is nuts. Every week.
Yeah, and the thing is, right now we're on the verge of really it going real bad. We must have these discussions, and it's one of those things where communication is the key.
Mm-hmm.
We have to educate our Black population.
Very,
on
very much so. Very much so.
And you know, on the things to do with police, I know a lot of us feel like, you know, I'm sick of having to comply. You know, they treat me like dirt. It's hard to win. It's hard to win. And
very much so.
Go on. Just,
so with that being said, any parting words? Isom, you can go first.
I just first of all, thank you so much. I agree. This is invaluable, and I'll come back anytime you need me. Anytime you want to do another forum, this every day, every week, whatever. I'm with us, but we have to educate our people. We've got to get past that you can't tell me what to do mentality, because that's where we are right now. You can't tell me what to do. I don't have to listen to you, and you kind of do in certain situations. And if it's going to help us as a community get better and do better and live, I'm all in. I would love to see a healing of our community with the police department, and I want to work towards we can get to the level of understanding where we're all human beings, and that means the police department recognizing our community as human beings and us recognizing them as human beings, because right now we don't respect each other.
Dr. Spoon.
I thank you also, Yogi. I'll come back anytime you want to. I appreciate the people out there that had questions, great questions, and people tuning in. You know, we hope for these numbers to be 1,000, you know, that may hear Dana speak. Because Dana knows how to talk. See, and you know she did. And,
yeah.
But I appreciate it, Yogi. We got to keep at it, man. Just got to keep.
I agree. What me is, I can't thank you guys enough. Again, you already know how I feel about you guys. I had no problem saying I love you guys to death, for real. I don't say that just flippantly. I say that with the utmost respect, because I have the utmost respect for both of you guys. Again, it's not even in question. You guys are coming back because there's going to be more issues that we need to address. There's going to be more issues that we need some advice on how to communicate with one another, especially in the sense of dealing with the travesties that are going on. It starts now. It starts with us. It starts with that first step. In order for us to get better, we first need to listen, not always pass judgment, be willing to accept when you are wrong, be a student first, teach when necessary. At the same time, we have to be able to just accept the fact that we were wrong on certain situations. But then again, we were right on certain situations. But that's okay. That's a whole lot of learning. That's the whole process of learning. For those of you that some people just popped on, you can always go to my website, which is Hendo Health and Wellness. Go on there. Everything's recorded. You can also go to, I'm on Instagram under Hendo Living, and you can just go to my Facebook page, which is basically Daryl Yates. Again, the conversation in its entirety is totally recorded. So feel free to go back, look at it, share it, provide comments, whatever the case may be. But I just appreciate the fact that you took the time out and listened to what was being said. This is a start, a big time start. So I always say in the end, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I truly believe that. So again, I want to thank both of you guys for taking out the time, and we will see each other sooner than later. Spoon, we're going to ride real soon, and Isom, we're going to get our session in real soon. I hated I missed you at Creve Coeur on Sunday.
I know.
Good session. Great session.
Charlie had a bazillion games on Sunday. I'm
I
sorry.
get it. So with all that being said, thank you again. Love you guys dearly. Please be safe.
Brother. Let's pray that we're not talking about a different situation the next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope not. All right. You guys take care, and I will be talking to you soon.
All righty.
All right. Take care. Bye.